creative living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Welcome to Creative Living today. We're going to learn how to prepare some delicious and nutritious recipes with figs, and we'll share some tips for seniors in order to protect their vision. One of my guests today is John Sucor, and he's a chef and the culinary consultant to the California Fig Advisory Board in Fresno, California. John's going to talk about compelling flavors, visuals, and nutrition, as well as how to incorporate the satiety factor of a meal. Figs will be the center stage as he prepares vegan and gluten-free recipes. John's company is Core Food Innovation, and he lives in Ashland, Virginia. According to the American Federation for the Blind, there are increasingly more people who are experiencing eye problems. Dr. Edward Conrad is my first guest, and he says this is especially true for those over the age of 65. He'll discuss some tips to help seniors protect their vision, and actually this is great advice for anyone. Dr. Conrad is the founder of Healing the Eye and Wellness Center in Dade City, Florida. Dr. Conrad, I appreciate you being here. I don't see how in the world you run your center in Florida, write books, do lectures, and help patients all at the same time, but you certainly are doing a wonderful thing that's helped lots of people. And I thought what we might talk about today is eyesight, vision, and how it pertains to senior citizens. Sometimes they have things that have gone wrong with them perhaps, but certainly when they lose their vision, that's the most serious.
You're absolutely right. And, you know, as we get older, I guess the ills of our previous ways in our life kind of catch up to us. If we have a poor diet and we don't exercise and we're not taking care of our body, then it can manifest as health problems and poor vision. So a good part of my practice is seeing seniors that are suffering from visual loss, and they're looking for alternative ways to regain their sight.
And I bet they're so happy when you can help them with this. You wrote in one thing that I thought was interesting. It says the number of aging Americans with vision loss will double in the near future. Why do you feel that way?
Well, it's a shocking statistic, and it is true. And I think the big factor is we're just not taking care of ourselves. You know, we're not eating the right foods. We're taking a lot of shortcuts in our diet, fast foods, foods that have a lot of pesticides and preservatives,
Versus
and
organic.
we're living in a toxic environment. So our bodies are just filled with heavy metals and toxins that are contributing to the aging process.
And the natural approach to helping people is what you're really known for and what you really promote at your center, isn't that correct?
My goodness, that's the #1 approach. You really got to look at your diet, and you know, right here is an example. If you do want healthy vision, this is what you got to start with.
Colorful
you know, you are what you eat.
fruits and
Colorful
vegetables.
food.
Let's go ahead and talk about diet. You talk about in the book that I was reading about cleaning up our diet. So I'm assuming when someone first comes to your center, they provide a food diary of, I don't know, maybe the previous month's meals or things. How do you work with people to clean up their diet?
Well, usually I don't want to see a food diary because that will just make me sick to see some of the things that they eat.
I see.
And then folks lie about it. But you take the average senior, they'll have oatmeal and maybe a banana, and they think that that is a healthy breakfast. And it's far from healthy because you need to put colorful foods into your body. You know, God put these foods into our environment, into our life, and every time you eat a fruit or vegetable that has a certain color, you're feeding your eye, you're feeding your body. And did you know an eye doctor can actually look into your eye with an ophthalmoscope, and he could tell how many veggies you've been eating?
I didn't know that.
Because when you eat a lot of vegetables that are high in lutein, the center part of the eye, the macula, has a bright yellowish tinge to it. So if I look in your eye and I don't see any yellow, I know you have a really poor diet. And there's even instruments now to measure that intensity of yellow.
That's amazing. You mentioned the macula. Is that why so many seniors seem to develop macular degeneration?
Well, I think the diet is a big contributing factor. Next would be heavy metal toxicity. And then just a decrease in circulation and natural aging changes. So we got to address all those things.
I see.
But we begin with diet.
Well, I can see why that's so important. You have an IV stand here. You do some IV therapy for people. Would you explain that?
Because some people are so deficient in nutrition that we will administer a nutritional IV. It's a highly concentrated mixture of all the essential minerals, vitamin C. And I have found that 80% of people that I see are deficient in zinc, even if they're taking it as a supplement, if you can believe that. And the reason is they're probably taking an improper form of zinc, and it's not being digested and absorbed into their body. So one thing we do is I emphasize increase your levels of zinc, and one of the best ways is to get a nutritional IV with zinc.
What types of foods provide zinc?
Well, it's almost impossible to get a satisfactory level of zinc in our diet. Pine nuts, pumpkin seeds, certain nuts, and meat have the zinc. And you know, our soils are becoming nutritionally deficient. So normally, 20, 30 years ago, our fruits and vegetables had nutritional value. But now, because of the poor farming and soils and dependency on pesticides and artificial fertilizers, that the vegetables are becoming more and more deficient in these essential minerals.
So people that you can tell have not had correct diets or menus, you start them out first thing. It's usually a 3-day visit, as I understand. And so this IV of this nutritional supplement will help clean out the things that they shouldn't be having, and also at the same time provide the important ones.
Well, we're kind of jump starting.
I see.
You know, if I would tell you to clean up your diet, it may take 3 or 4 months before there's nutritional changes. But if I give you an IV, then you instantly have those essential nutrients that you need for your body to heal.
By the time someone leaves, do they believe this enough? Have they had enough education while they're there that they realize that banana and oatmeal are not a complete breakfast?
Well, we hope they leave with that, but you know, it's over 3 days, and every day I will give them a lecture on an essential part of their health. And of course, they're eating healthy meals, and they understand that, you know, a raw vegetarian diet can be fun. My wife's an excellent cook, and she makes it very exciting. And you know, patients are always asking for recipes. How did you make
That's
this?
good. That's a good compliment.
Why does this taste so good? So.
Okay, you mentioned earlier about seniors just having aging and maybe going through stress, and you know, I think many of us probably are experiencing stress and don't even realize it, and so that can really affect our vision, can't it?
Well, most of us have been in a stressful situation for so long that our adrenals are burned out. You know, the adrenals are essential to help us with that fight or flight, to get the cortisol levels up there so we can survive in a stressful situation. But because we've been in stress for so long, our adrenals are depleted. So it's energizing the body and relaxing, getting the person to relax, because I'm a firm believer that the body will not heal itself if you're in a stressful state.
What are some of the eye exercises that you think are so important for people to learn to do while they're at your center?
Well, probably the most important exercise is just to relax your eyes, not to strain. And I like the exercises that were developed by Dr. William Bates. One of them is my favorite, is palming. You rub your hands together and place them over your closed eyelids.
Closed eyes.
And it's kind of like a meditation, which helps your eyes to relax. And also the body has an energetic field, so you're actually putting healing energy into your eyes. A second therapy, which I had a hard time accepting, is sunning.
Oh, really?
Dr. Bates taught that early in the morning, when the sun is rising or setting, you go out, close your eyes, and look at the setting sun through closed eyelids, and you see the reflection of the sun, the image of the sun going into your eye.
And that's why you close your eyes, because we know that sun can damage the eyes.
I didn't really think that had any value until I read an article. There was a study done in Berlin looking at red near infrared light in the treatment of macular degeneration and glaucoma. Very, very successful outcome. So I got the cold laser, the laser they used, and I was doing it at home, my wife and I. My wife said, "Honey, you know, this is just like looking at the sun." And I said, "My goodness, Bates was right. Because when the sun is setting, it's red near infrared. And so this laser light duplicates what God gave us." And here's a light that we use.
So you do light therapy.
This is light therapy, and this is a red near infrared light, and you put it on your closed eyes, and it gives a low level of red near infrared light, which penetrates the eye and helps stimulate.
How long do you leave it on a person?
Usually about 10 minutes or so.
Oh,
Also, this light has been shown to stimulate the lymphatic system. So we treat the lymphatics. The lymphatics are important for detoxification of the body and cleansing the body. And interestingly enough, everyone's talking about stem cells. Well, the infrared light has been shown to stimulate stem cells. So we talk about our patients treating it right over a bone, a long bone, and it's been shown to stimulate the stem cells. So the laser light is one of my favorite modalities for helping
That's
people.
interesting. What about this? You said this is microcurrent therapy?
This
How
is
does this work?
microcurrent. This is also a subtle energy. It uses very low levels of electrical current. We're talking about a millionth of an amp, a millionth of an amp. Very, very low, so it's imperceptible. But it gently improves circulation, stimulates cellular activity, and helps regenerate the eye. There was a study done that was published in a medical journal that showed that microcurrent can improve cellular activity by up to 500%. 500.
Oh, word. So then how is that related to the eye?
Well, we're taking dysfunctional, sick retinal cells that are not working. We're improving the nutrition, the diet, we're giving the building blocks, and then we're stimulating them to start to function. So this has been one of my most valuable modalities to really help people see an improvement of their vision within a couple of days.
I think what I like is everything you've shown is painless. You just have results, but it's not a painful type situation. You suggest that people, if they've been told perhaps that they need to have cataract surgery or some type of surgery on their eye, of course we know to get second opinions, but why do you think it's so important to avoid surgery at almost all cost?
Well, you know, I started out as an eye surgeon, and I did lots of cataract operations, corneal transplants, and glaucoma procedures, and I thought that they were the final answer. But now, as I'm leaning to more towards the homeopathic and alternative approach, I think that you really got to treat the underlying cause. For example, the biggest cause for cataract development is elevated lead. So it makes sense you need to be tested for lead and have that treated.
Lead?
Lead.
And here we think that we've just about eliminated that problem in our lives.
That's far from the truth. Far
Wow.
from the truth. So I like to treat the underlying cause
of it.
strengthen the body, and many times you do that, the problem will disappear and the vision will improve. So I advise people, don't rush into surgery. Explore alternative treatments, and you'd be surprised. In many cases, your vision will improve and you will not need surgery.
Oh, you know, and whether that's for senior citizens or somebody of any age, that's such good advice. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I've learned lots of new alternatives, and I think that we all need to know more about taking care of our eyes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
John, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
I know we're going to prepare a recipe in a little bit and show some variations, but the bottom line is it's made with figs.
Yes.
And there may be some people watching that don't know very much about figs. Many of us aren't too familiar with it. If you grew up in California, you know about figs, but why don't we talk about the fresh and the dried and where we find these?
Absolutely. So you mentioned California. Beautiful state means beautiful fruit to the California figs, and what we have are in a few different forms, the dry in the back here and then the fresh in the front. So these are known as our mission figs. The very plummy, I think you mentioned before.
They do look,
Yeah, kind of like a plum and in similar color to a plum, and that turns into this beautiful black dried. And then we have the Sierra fig, this nice green color, and it turns into this golden Sierra dried fig as well. So what's I think really unique, we always talk about trying to learn something as we discuss, and actually a fig is technically not a fruit. It's called a scion. It's the scion of the plant. It's a flower. It's kind of an inverted flower. And what you see on the insides, I'm going to break one open for you here. What you're looking at on the insides are actually little flowers and seeds that make up the interior.
Looks like.
Exactly. but it's so sweet and so loaded with antioxidants and natural sugars. It's such a great natural portable snack and something that chefs love to cook with.
Oh, I guess so. And I understand that fig consumption's on the rise. Why do you think that's true?
Well, absolutely. I think that what's been identified is just what a powerful, concentrated, nutritious snack they are. It's meaningful nutrition, loaded with good sugars that are long-sustaining sugars that will maintain a very balanced blood sugar.
And that's called, it keeps us feeling full longer.
Satiety, yeah, and it's your glycemic index that we're talking about, which is how your body breaks down and maintains sugars in the system. Loaded with antioxidants as well, so really good for the body system, and as well as if you're using it as an ingredient in baked goods, for example, those antioxidants can actually help preserve the baked good.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
And it also keeps it moist, too,
It really does. Really does. Maintains a lot of moisture. It's called a humectant, which in a recipe means it's grabbing moisture and holding it. And the last thing I'll say is it's loaded with fiber. So a small handful of these little guys and you've got your fiber for the day.
It's sort of like a snack on the go. If you aren't even cooking with it, just pick up 2 or 3 and you're ready to go.
Yeah, so portable and so really easy to grab a hold of. A little differences here beside the color, you'll find the darker one, the Mission Fig, when it's dry, has a nice, almost custardy feel to the tooth. It's very tender, very smooth, yeah, with Cabernet flavor notes and a little hint of chocolate to me in my palate. And then the dried Sierra Fig, much more meaty. The flesh, or rather the skin on the outside, has a nice toothy bite to it, so it acts as a meat in a dish sometimes, and I think we'll talk about that a little later.
And what I like with the fresh figs, you don't have to peel them.
You
They're
don't.
ready to go. just bite into them.
Absolutely. That little stem you mentioned one time to me too, that little stem is about all that's left.
Pops
the rest
off.
of this is completely edible, so yeah, very little waste.
Right. Well, that's what I like, and that's easy to pack in little plastic bags in a lunch for the kids or to send to work with you, or for an afternoon snack when you just sort of think you're starving.
That's right. Well, and I particularly like the dark ones, like I mentioned, have a little of that cocoa flavor to them, a little chocolatey note. That with a cup of coffee, and you kind of have your mocha latte in one.
Well, it sounds pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's good tasting.
Now, you're going to be cooking with some cauliflower with figs.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
So what I mentioned about its meatiness, it's one of the things when we're cooking at home or even chefs who are developing products, one of our goals is to satisfy the diner, make you enjoy the food, make you feel like you've invested your time well in the meal and that you've got good nutrition. And in particular, when we're creating vegetarian meals, one of the things we forget is sort of that sense of satiety. We mentioned that earlier. And the ability to chew and have a long chew and one that's very satisfying actually contributes to your ability to process that you've eaten nutrition and that you feel full from it and that you feel satisfied. And
don't you think part of it is, I know with the figs especially, they're chewy and kind of gooey, and so you do chew longer, and it makes you enjoy the process of eating more.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned, I think the Goldens have a little bit more of a chewy flesh to them. So I selected them for this dish. So I also like to do a little bit of, I call it longitudinal cuisine, when you're connecting what you're doing today with a different part of the world. And another part of the world actually where figs originated from, in parts of Asia and the Mediterranean, Indian cuisine rises to my mind. And they actually use figs quite often in their cuisine. So what we're going to make is a quick curry. I've actually started by caramelizing and getting some beautiful brown color to our dish here. The figs already have a little bit of that caramelization done to them, as well as the cauliflower. And we're just moving quick here in the essence of time. But one of the keys to a delicious Indian dish are its complex flavors it gets from spices. In this case, we have a variety of spices here. These are a coriander seed. We have a whole cumin seed here. Kind of looks like a caraway seed.
It does.
Now this one, a lot of folks wouldn't guess what that is. They might initially say poppy seed, but this is a black mustard seed.
Black mustard.
Yeah, and this is adding a really nice little spice note, but just a really nutty flavor to it. And we have some chili flakes for heat.
I recognize that.
That's right. That's an easy one to spot. So in this pan, I probably wouldn't have much oil, because what I'm going to do next is we would actually toast these spices.
Coriander.
Now we're going to add that coriander, some of the cumin, a little bit of the mustard seed, and a little spice there. And this would start to create a little bit of smoke as we're toasting this, and that's a good smoke. We
That's
want
good.
a little of that. It's telling us that it's toasting, it's creating new flavors. And about the time that that smoke starts to get a little bit more intense, I would go with I have a little blended madras here too that's going to give it somewhat of that beautiful yellow amber color to it.
Oh, now this was what?
This is a madras curry
Madras
powder.
curry.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it looked like curry. I didn't know the madras.
Yeah, so that's just a little blend of seasonings. And then I'm going to add some coconut milk.
Oh.
This will simmer for about, I'd say about 10 minutes. And really the figs will start to sort of break apart and help to thicken that coconut milk. It'll be nice and thick and stewy. And at that point, you know you're ready to go. So in the essence of time, I created one here for you ahead of time.
Oh, that
So this
looks
is what we look
great.
like when we're finished. So I have a little bit of some rice off to the side. We have our beautiful curry dish here. These are a little bit of pine nuts I have in the dish as
Pine
well.
nuts,
And all those spices, you see how they kind of come together to be one flavor.
It looks like a glaze, actually.
Oh, exactly. And some of the contribution of that are those figs. So that natural sugar that's in there and all those natural juices from the figs are thickening. And there's actually one last thing I'll tell you about the figs. They have something called pectin in them that you see in jams and jellies.
Right.
Figs are loaded with pectin, so it's giving it that glaze naturally without having to add a cornstarch to that.
Is that why a lot of people use the figs to make chutneys and preserves? Do they still have to use additional pectin, or is it pretty much loaded?
You know, I find that I don't need additional pectin.
That's what I would wonder.
Yeah, really just soaking figs, which we use that a lot in recipes.
In the dried ones.
Exactly. We'll soak the dried ones. That soaking liquid, actually, if you refrigerate it, it'll set up on you and you'll have a nice gel that you can use to garnish a dress or garnish desserts with and so forth. It's a really nice product, but it's loaded with natural pectin. And then I would just put a really nice final garnish, and this is cilantro, which is again indigenous and a regular use application in Indian cuisine. It adds a little fresh color to the dish as well. Now, one thing I want to show versatility here, just with respect to palates. Maybe some folks, a little surprise for you here, some folks aren't down the path yet of eating curries. I have the same ingredients, really, those cauliflower, rather caramelized pieces of cauliflower and figs. And in this case, we just put those same ingredients over the top of some gluten-free pasta. About the only spice change I would make is I'm going to eliminate the rest of these spices and use something we know is loaded in Italian sausage, which is toasted fennel seed.
Oh.
So that toasted fennel seed can go over the top.
Do you have to break that apart, or do you just sprinkle it on as is?
Yeah, not really. So these are all very separated, much like the cumin seed, but I like to give them a toast. It gives them that really nice sweet flavor you're used to tasting in Italian sausage. And then we can just finish that with a little bit of our red pasta sauce.
Oh.
And so in this instance, you have probably on the Indian dish, you have the figs sort of taking the place of maybe in this dish you might find lamb traditionally or find chicken. So it's replacing it there.
In fact, when I first saw this, I thought this was going to be a chicken
Sure,
entree.
sure. And then in this instance, it's replacing what might be Italian sausage in a dish. But back to the very beginning when we talked about creating a dish that's satisfying, creating something that's going to you're going to chew on for a while and feel like you've had a satisfying meal. Figs step in here and become that really wonderful, satisfying, and savory partner to the dishes.
Well, and for vegetarians or for anyone who likes meat, like you said, we could have added chicken to this. We could add an Italian sausage to that. So you can really suit any member of the family as to what they like.
Absolutely, and in this case, just really
Key
showing
ingredient is
that's
figs.
right, California figs.
Thanks so much, John.
My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn how to decorate cakes to resemble animals. We'll learn how to keep a craft room, sewing room, or workshop more organized, and learn what to do if an unwelcome wildlife animal gets in your home. One of my next guests is the Assistant Culinary Specialist with Wilton Brands, and she's going to demonstrate how to use fondant to create a variety of woodland animals, including a fox, an owl, and a raccoon. Another guest owns and operates an event planning business, and she knows how important it is to be able to locate items quickly for an upcoming event. She'll share some tips and tricks that can alleviate some of the chaos and make life easier and less stressful. What's the first thing you would think of doing if a wild animal happened to get into your home? Another guest on the next show says you need to immediately take charge with a calm, clear head, which is easier said than done. He has several suggestions that might come in handy someday, so get your broom ready. I hope you'll plan to join me next time on Creative Living.
We are very pleased to offer a special booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. We are celebrating our 40th year on PBS. This booklet is titled the 40th Anniversary Series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information, and it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this commemorative booklet, go to our website at kenw.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on this booklet or on any of the other booklets we have available online. We would like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter too. Go to kenw.org and click on the Sign Up Now button and input your email address. That's all there is to it. We would also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Go to facebook.com and in the search window type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much. We look forward to hearing from you.